Welcome in to PFF Studios. This is actually Tampa Bay. I don't know if you guys know this. It's beautiful this time of year, nice and warm outside. We are going to talk about all things Super Bowl. We're going to start with the biggest matchups. We'll have a couple more videos on props and our picks for the game. Eric Eager, research and development, but also resident degenerate gambler. Sam Monson, senior NFL analyst, becoming a degenerate gambler. And me, I'm just George Chahrouri, nothing important, and I'm a degenerate gambler. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to start with the biggest matchups in this game. There are so many of them. Obviously, Mahomes and Brady, it's getting overblown to the point of exhaustion. So at PFF, we've got a few more things to talk about, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So Sam, aside from the Brady-Mahomes paranoia, biggest matchup in this game.
Right. Mahomes, Brady, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Aaron Stinney is the name we need to be talking about in the Super Bowl. Aaron Stinney versus Chris Jones genuinely has the potential to completely alter the entire game. It's as big a mismatch as you're going to find anywhere on the field. Stinney, obviously a backup right guard for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's had 2 games starting now, a PFF grade of 48 and a PFF grade of 26 when it comes to pass blocking. And he's going up against the best interior pass rusher in the game that isn't Aaron Donald. He has a grade of 93 this season. And the gap between him and Aaron Donald is closer than the gap between Chris Jones and anybody else. That genuinely could completely change the game.
What do you think, though, about Brady mitigating that? Like, because if it was Mahomes, you'd go, oh yeah, Mahomes will figure out a way to not let the pressure impact him. Can Brady still do that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's done that all season, right? He's done a really good job, I think, of going down the football field, avoiding turnover-worthy plays, and doing so at times without, Jensen's been out at times, Marpet's been out at times. This is just another example of one of those players on the interior not being able to play here. Chris Jones is amazing, but I think, and it will help the Chiefs defense that he's there, but I don't think it's going to be this sort of like titanic, outcome mismatch, even if it is an individual one.
Right, but Marpet going down made a serious difference to that team. When Joe Haig had to come in and give as much pressure up in one game than Marpet had in like half the season, it did transform things, and particularly when it's Jones. Like, he moves around the defensive line, but if he doesn't go up against Stinney like every single snap in this game, the Bucks or the Chiefs are doing something wrong.
It also stops what one thing that they really want to do in Tampa, which is run the football. And Derek Notty's been a top 20 nose tackle, in the top 20 defensive tackle in all of football, stopping the run. And if the Bucks try to run against him on early downs with that interior, they're going to be in long yardage situations, and that's maybe where you see Jones have the huge effect on this game.
Because I was going to say, you tell me that mismatch, and the first thing I think about is play action. Right? I'm going to run play action early and often. I'm not going to worry about the run game being effective because we know that's actually something that is not helpful to success in play action, contrary to popular belief. And that would help slow down Chris Jones a little bit. But if you run the ball ineffectively on first and second down, well, then you're in third down. Third and long, play action. Chris Jones does not care about your play action third and long as much, and you could be in some real trouble. Eric, your biggest mismatch?
Yeah, I think in this one, it's actually going to be 2 good players against each other. The problem is Andy Reid does such a good job of taking what is perceived to be a strength and turn it into weakness. And so it's going to be, for me, Travis Kelce versus Lavonte David. Lavonte David is the good linebacker of these two. He's great at basically almost everything except this season covering tight ends. He's given up over 25 catches there. His grade is 42. His grade covering running backs is 91.7. But yet we've heard this week that he's going to be the one matched up on the Chiefs, probably most, not the most potent weapon in the passing game, but maybe the best weapon in the passing game. And I see that as a mismatch, and I see that as a situation where Tampa doing this makes them worse at covering running backs and makes them worse at covering Kelce.
And critically, even if Lavonte David was having a great season covering tight ends, I don't know that it would matter going up against the Travis Kelce the way he's playing right now. We've seen even just through the playoffs, he's been killing linebackers, he's been killing cornerbacks, safeties. Nobody can cover that guy right now. He is completely dominant, and if David was having the best season of his career, it would still be a mismatch.
Sean Murphy-Bunting, 14 for 14 for 123 and a touchdown into his coverage, covering tight ends. So there really isn't a solution to Kelce. So I understand why Tampa is using their best sort of middle-of-the-field coverage player there. Yeah. It, to me, is just, it's still not going to be good enough.
Well, and Travis Kelce is having the best season of his career, too. The highest graded tight end this season, and was just behind George Kittle last year. Yep. It's interesting because Tyreek Hill destroyed Tampa, in Week 12, and you hear all of the talk from Bruce Arians like, well, we're not going to let that happen again. does that mean that Kelce has less attention paid to him and they go, hey, Levante, it's all on you?
Well, and that's how the Chiefs have won in the playoffs, right? They've won by utilizing Kelce, over the middle of the football field. Even Chad Henne used him on some key drives in the Cleveland game. But, he's the guy there. And the problem is in football, we react to variance way too much, right? We look at that game and think, okay, if one of those balls is dropped, we saw a deep ball drop by Hill in the Buffalo game, it's an entirely different game, but it's so embarrassing to give up deep passes that maybe Tampa is going to avoid that, and they're going to die by the slow bleed of Travis Kelce, which many other teams have.
Or even if they figure out a way of somehow taking them both away. Like the team that has done the best over a period of time against Patrick Mahomes in this offense is the Patriots, that are able to sort of free up multiple hole players to kind of bracket guys, right? And they can take away both Kelce and Tyreek Hill, or at least minimize what they do. But in order to do that, you have to play aggressive man coverage everywhere else, and that's a pretty scary prospect when you're a team like the Bucs.
Well, and we saw that in the AFC title game 2 years ago. Sammy Watkins over 100 yards.
Yeah.
The following year against New England, McCole Hardman a deep touchdown in that game. I just don't think they're going to be able to stop everything the Chiefs have.
The Lizard King was limited in practice, expected to play. That's Sammy Watkins, for all of you wondering at home. My matchup to watch is two Hall of Famers, Tom Brady versus Tyrann Mathieu. And what is so exciting about this matchup is Tom Brady's in a position where he has been the best that we've seen in Bruce Arians' offense, especially right off the get, right? Because we've seen Andrew Luck, we've seen Carson Palmer really struggle with turning the ball over. And interestingly, his turnover numbers are a little inflated relative to how often he's actually put the ball up for grabs. To illustrate that, 17 turnover-worthy plays, 16 interceptions. So almost all the time that he's actually putting it up, someone's catching it. The most opportunistic player on the defense of any of these defenses is Tyrann Mathieu. In fact, John Gruden, the great John Gruden, on Chris Collinsworth's podcast this week, compared Mathieu to Rondé Barber, who was obviously one of the last on that team that won for Tampa. So I think this matchup will be really fascinating because if Tom Brady gives them a chance, gives Tyrann Mathieu a chance, I think Tyrann Mathieu's coming down with it, and I'm not sure that the Bucs can afford a mistake from Tom Brady if they're going to win this game.
Another Barber coming up big this week. So when I look at this game, it might just turn to the Brady prop, which people have Brady as a favorite to throw an interception this week. I think that's a little bit heavy for the reasons you said. The thing about Kansas City, though, it's a contrast in coverage. Mathieu has given up the most yards into his coverage of any player on that team, but it's less than 600. They really do spread it out, and they sort of funnel the very dangerous things to him, and so far he's done a great job. If he plays a good game in this one, it's going to be tough for Tampa Bay to score the requisite points to win.
I agree 100% that Brady has to have a clean game for them to win. Mahomes doesn't. Mahomes can have a bunch of turnover-worthy plays, and it probably doesn't make a huge amount of difference because he's going to have 4, 5, 6 big-time throws as well. If Brady puts the ball in harm's way and a guy like Mathieu actually comes down with it, the Bucs are in major, major trouble. And the numbers of Brady within this Arians offense in year one are insane. Every other quarterback, Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer, whoever the third, Jameis Winston.
How can you forget Jameis?
I know. Each one of them had 40 turnover-worthy plays just in the regular season. Brady's at 17, including 3 road playoff games. It's what he's been able to do executing this offense in year one in terms of not putting the ball in harm's way is crazy. He's got the second lowest turnover-worthy play rate in the entire NFL, despite being in one of the most aggressive offenses.
If you account for volume, he's the most valuable player in football this season, right? He's played more playoff games than everybody, but, I mean, we're not talking about a situation where this is fluky from Brady's perspective. I think it's fluky on Tampa Bay's team-level perspective, but Brady's been every bit as fundamentally good as he looks this season.
Those are our 3 matchups to watch in this Super Bowl, not Mahomes versus Brady. We are going to have a props and a picks segment here, so go check out those videos as well. And if you haven't yet, go to pff.com, use the promo code SuperBowl25. You will get 25% off any annual subscription. That includes the Elite subscription, which gives you the PFF props tool. You need it for this game. Promise me.